first major problem is that Sam Bankman-Fried, it turns out, wasn't a partisan donor.
Hate crime against LGBTQ people and otherwise is a serious issue, and we must take it seriously.
Almost $500 million in financing to make sure people across Africa can participate in the digital economy.
We're going to send a ton of money to Africa for some reason. Apparently, the lefties' idea of a fair argument is not the same as ours. The Washington Post lays off a ton of people, and some guys making the argument that the death penalty should be used for hate crimes. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from Energy Bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you, fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is December 15th, the year of our Lord 2022. And there's a lot going on. Joe Biden promised $1 bajillion to Africa for some reason. Now, we're going to make the fair case there. Is it weird? Is it crazy? Yes, but there's a small inkling of it that I can understand that, but he didn't say any of that. And the reason why I say that is because this first story that I want to lead into is this MSNBC clip that is lengthy, but I feel like incredibly important. Now, I know a lot of you watch MSNBC every single day and don't want to repeat the same show that you've already watched. Of course, I kid. I don't think anybody here watches MSNBC, but I do for you. And the reason I do that is because I like to bring stuff like this on. This is a fascinating, and I genuinely mean fascinating, not necessarily in a good way, but fascinating as in like oh my gosh, I did not know people could be this disingenuous with their arguments. This is a longish clip of MSNBC host Chris Hayes talking about Sam Bankman-Fried, the Republicans, the conservatives, the Democratic Party, his donations, all of that stuff. And it is dang fascinating. And the reason it's fascinating is because I don't believe a lot of the people on MSNBC to be dumb people. I disagree with them a lot, but I don't believe them to be dumb. The difference, however, though, is I wouldn't ever, and I've said this so many times, I would never willingly and knowingly lie to people. I obviously have a perspective. You have a perspective watching this show. People on MSNBC have a perspective. But the disingenuousness of the arguments are fascinating in the sense that I don't think it ultimately helps your side, but they do it anyway. Okay, so that being said, I want you to watch this clip, and I feel like there's going to be a decent amount to talk about. This first section of this is rather long, but this is Chris Hayes on MSNBC trying to make an argument that conservatives / Republicans / Fox News, Tucker, all of the mainstream conservative outlets have this big grand conspiracy of Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX that is now defunct. We've talked about him a little bit. Just to set it up briefly, his whole thing went belly up, and he was a major donor to Democrat politics, second only to George Soros. Big time Dem, big time lib. Nobody is hiding that. But Chris Hayes is going to try and make an effort, again, disingenuously, I believe, to say that, well, no, he's just he also donates to Republicans and all of those sorts of things. This is bizarre. So I want you to watch this, and we'll discuss on the other side. Oh, also, if you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button and the little share button. Really, really helps us out with kind of keeping the ball rolling on this show, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Also, leave this comment in the comment section. Just engaging with the post in any way, shape, or form really, really does help us out. Let us know in the comment section. Is this a lie or incompetence? Because it has to be one of those two things. There's no way that Chris Hayes, who I believe is a smart person, is saying this thinking he's speaking honestly. Watch this.
Now, to be clear, this is an extremely newsworthy story that's garnered tons of attention, rightfully. But for more than a month now, it has been, for very particular reasons, an obsession on the political right. prior to his arrest, Republicans were relentlessly pushing the idea that Bankman-Fried, who made enormous political donations to Democrats, one of the top donors in the last cycle, was getting special treatment by President Biden's Department of Justice because, they argue, the Democrats are a party of the corrupt elite, that he had purchased their assent. The Democrats are looking out for their own at the expense of the little guy. That was a story. Elon Musk, for instance, Twitter's new owner, who never seen a right-wing conspiracy he did not want to get involved in, has embraced a new life as a right-wing troll, got in on the action. He tweeted last month, quote, SBF was a major Dem donor, so no investigation. This narrative was especially prevalent on Fox News, which has produced a truly unbelievable amount of coverage of this story.
Sam Bankman-Fried isn't stupid. He knows he's bulletproof. He knows the Democratic Party and the SEC and his friend Gary Gensler won't touch him.
Why isn't he shackled by the FBI? If this guy was a Republican donor, he'd probably be sitting in solitary confinement right now.
This is a glaring example of everything that's wrong with our government and the power elite in Washington. If you are a crook, but you got the right friends and you're on the right team, then you'll be taken care of.
Now, there's two major problems with the story they've been telling, okay? The first major problem is that Sam Bankman-Fried, it turns out, wasn't a partisan donor. By his own admission last month, he gave just as much to Republicans as he did to Democrats.
I donated to both parties. I donated about the same amount to both parties this year. That was not generally known because despite Citizens United being literally the highest profile Supreme Court case of the decade and the thing everyone talks about when they talk about campaign finance, for some reason, in practice, no one can possibly fathom the idea that someone in practice actually gave dark. So, I don't know, all my Republican donations were dark.
See that? All his Republican donations were dark. The dark money the Republican Supreme Court enabled, that he was able to funnel without anyone noticing, to Republican donors too. Somebody please tell Tucker.
Okay, so a couple things there. He's making two cases. The first case is which, Sam Bankman-Fried, by his own admission, gave money to Republicans. That's exactly what Chris Hayes said. Okay, so this guy stole and lost $22 billion. Now, maybe it remains to be seen what he was actually thinking during this. It could be that he's just grossly incompetent, this Sam Bankman-Fried character. Having said that, apparently we're just taking the word of somebody who, again, stole and lost $22 billion freaking dollars, because as he said, well, this is all dark money going to the Republican Party. Now, if you want to talk about how money gets shuffled through the nonprofit world in the terms of 501c4s, it's not tax deductible, so there was no tax reason for him to give that sort of, if that happened, no tax reason for him to give that sort of money. And also, it's a pretty good out, especially if you're trying to maintain this kind of middle-of-the-road figure, which Sam Bankman-Fried does not do. So the argument that Chris is making is that, well, no, he definitely gave to, he wasn't even a partisan, no, he gave just as much. According to the liar, he gave just as much. According to the Washington Post, I believe in the New York Times, he gave about a sixth of the money that's trackable to Republicans. Now, there's also the question of all of the money that he gave to Democrats. This, what was it, $40 million? It was some crazy huge number. Okay, what about the dark money on that side too? What I'm saying here is the argument that Chris Hayes on MSNBC is making of just so obvious. It's so obvious because he said that he gave to both parties. Yeah, I'm going to need some proof of that because of all of the different variables that don't include going to the other side and having dark money there. And also, yeah, it's dark money. I definitely don't. Being honest on the right side of the aisle, now, again, I maintain that Chris Hayes is a smart person. Dude went to Brown, which, maybe that means you're a smart person coming out of high school. Maybe you're intellectually gifted. I don't know what that means. I didn't go to a expensive, fancy, nice college. Actually, I did go to an expensive college. It wasn't a Ivy League school by any stretch of the imagination, though. But the point being made is he just flat out lying? Thinking that that's a good argument, or is it incompetence and just being blinded by the political ideology that he's stuck in? Okay, so that's the first argument. That is, again, pretty dang easily debunked. The second argument is even worse. Check this out.
The other more obvious flaw in the disingenuous right-wing theory is that, well, as of yesterday, Sam Bankman-Fried is in jail. He's been arrested. He has been charged, arraigned, denied bail. There was no cover-up. There was no special treatment. You might think that being so flagrantly wrong would invite some soul-searching by the folks who pushed the bogus charges of corruption for over a month now. But of course, that's not what happened, no. Because Republicans have a complete monopoly on the information their voters and viewers consume, instead of any sort of mea culpa, they can just seamlessly transition into a wholly new and contradictory conspiracy theory. In this case, the new theory is that Sam Bankman-Fried's arrest, the thing Republicans have been calling for weeks, was actually a ploy by the Biden DOJ to prevent Fried from spilling the beans before Congress in testimony that was scheduled for today.
And then they go on to show Fox News clips talking about that, which again, he's saying it as if, yeah, how could this be? Of course, this is crazy. That kind of makes sense. Look, what Republicans / conservatives / Tucker / Fox News / all of these people have been saying is, okay, FTX crumbled about a month ago. And this guy has just been in the Bahamas. He didn't flee to Dubai. He didn't go anywhere. He's just been living at his house saying, I don't think I'm going to get arrested. You heard the clip of Tucker earlier saying, yeah, he doesn't think he's going to get arrested. That's the whole thing. And so, okay, so there's obvious kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Why did this guy lose billions of dollars of other people's money in a mini Madoff Ponzi scheme? And he's still just walking around for like a month. Like, is nobody going to like do anything about that? That is a reasonable question. And to say that it's not is a disingenuous argument. It is clearly a reasonable question to ask, why is this guy still walking around? But then he says, well, that's a moot point now because he has been arrested. Okay, but the timing of that is really, really weird. Sam Bankman-Fried was scheduled to testify in a House committee on Tuesday. The guy then gets arrested on Monday. Bottom line here is he was supposed to testify in Congress and spill the beans, as Chris Hayes said, spill the beans to everybody about everything that he was doing, hopefully, maybe in hours worth of testimony, and instead he gets arrested. Somebody, I think it was Jonathan Turley, who's a law professor, said that this is probably the first time the prosecutor has gotten in their own way. The DOJ, who could have prosecuted Sam Bankman, or is going to prosecute Sam Bankman-Fried, I think the indictments have come out of the Southern District of New York, federal court. The prosecutor in the case was going to get the witness to tell the people via Congress everything they needed to know, and then took that off the table by arresting him. So to say that the timing of that is just, the only reason anybody could think that the timing of that is weird is some grand conspiracy. Dude, this is the only time in history the prosecution has effectively shot themselves in the foot and disallowed somebody who's being charged with crimes in the United States to not testify. Maybe I'm getting too animated about this, but the thing that I'm like, I can't figure out is what the end game is to consistently, continually, and knowingly, it would appear, lying to your viewers. Again, he has a perspective. I have a perspective. All of your commentators have a perspective. But I wouldn't say this is a red desk. Maybe red might be kind of close. I don't know what color it looks like in the actual screen. But I would never say this is a green desk. This is a green desk, and if you don't believe it's a green desk, you're a conspiracy theorist. I would never outright lie to you, which is that has to be what's happening here, unless it's just ideological blindness with the blinders on and not knowing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. We're getting a lot of comments coming through. Not a lot of love for Chris Hayes. Let me play this last clip, and then I will try and read some of these comments. Again, disingenuous arguments, and then we'll move on. I promise. This just got me angry. All right, here we go.
Now, never mind the fact this new conspiracy completely contradicts the old one that the Democrats were dragging their feet, the Biden administration. Fox News knows by now it doesn't matter to its audience. As long as Republicans remain safely ensconced in their own media echo chamber, they can keep spinning and spinning the truth away without any real consequences. And perhaps today also, they were simply trying to distract from the much better than expected economic news for President Biden. I'll discuss that with Senator Bernie Sanders next.
Okay, so I don't know if you call it hypocrisy. Like, what do you call this sort of thing? He's basically saying, well, their own echo chamber making an argument that makes sense. Like, if you're being an honest person, the argument makes sense. Like, hey, this is weird. Now, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen of it. I don't know if he's going to do X, Y, Z. But there were a lot of Republicans that were mad that he did not testify. The Sam Bankman-Fried did not testify. And to say that is just such an outlandish theory, who could believe that except for people in their own little echo chamber, is just dishonest. And the irony, and I guess hypocrisy, if you want to call it that, is that he's literally doing the same thing. Like, did what they're doing on MSNBC. Agatha says, Hayes is smart. Smart people don't lie. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. Have you met politicians? Let me see. Jabone says, Hayes wouldn't know the truth if it hit him in the ass. Yeah, there's quite a lot of it. All of this is kind of the same, just kind of scrolling through the comments of just, yeah. I don't know. I don't understand what the goal of flat out lying to people is. But we'll leave that there and move on. And, well, because there's a lot of other stuff that I feel like is going to get people a little bit upset here, which, again, is not my intention for the morning, but I think it is important that we all know what's coming down the pipe here when it comes to what the government is doing, what they're spending their money on, and all of that sort of stuff. Listen to this clip from Joe Biden yesterday at... what is this? U.S. and Africa Leaders Summit. Bottom line, we're going to give a whole bunch of money to Africa. I don't know why. Check it out. Watch this.
I'm announcing a new initiative, the Digital Transformation with Africa, working with Congress to invest $350 billion to facilitate more than almost $500 million in financing to make sure people across Africa can participate in the digital economy. That includes partnerships like new collaboration between Microsoft and Visa to bring in internet access to 5 million Africans, part of Microsoft's commitment to bring access to 100 million people across Africa by the end of the year 2025. That means programs to train African entrepreneurs with a focus on women entrepreneurs to code and build skills that need to start their own businesses, to secure good-paying jobs with technology firms. And this will include partnerships between African-American companies to provide cybersecurity services to make sure Africa's digital environment is reliable and secure.
Okay. I will say this. Why? It's a serious question. There's a possible reason as to why that I wish, if that is the actual reason, I wish Joe Biden would just say for everybody to know. But the first question I have is why? I have no ill will towards the people of African nations. But why is the U.S. taxpayer going to be the one footing the bill for making sure they're included in the digital economy? Why? I would also imagine that this is going to come with a bunch of strings, like Joe Biden just said. Well, women are going to be promoted in businesses. And again, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Why is the American taxpayer, why is the farmer in Oklahoma on the hook for making sure that a small female-run business in Zimbabwe is able to compete in the digital economy? Tell me the benefit there. I'm not sure. I'd love to know in the comment section why you think we are giving exorbitant amounts of money, or going to be giving exorbitant amounts of money to African nations. But yeah, I don't know. I'll let you in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Looks like we're having some internet connectivity issues, but we will power on and continue. Diana says, we have hungry and homeless. Keep our money here. Yeah, that seems to be the case. All right, so as long as we're being fair here, and I went off on what a 20-minute tirade on Chris Hayes being completely disingenuous. There is, I guess, effectively an argument to be made for wanting to compete with China. China is investing billions, if not trillions of dollars into African countries in infrastructure in the form of loans that they'll never be able to pay back. It's a loan shark thing. It's a big problem. And the United States does need to make sure that effectively the developed world is on our side. Now, if that is the case, okay, there's an argument to be made for that. But I wish Joe Biden was making that argument. I don't want him to say, well, we care about the people of African nations and want their digital economy to flourish. That's not a good argument. It's not a good reason to send them $350 billion, especially when you're partnering with companies like Microsoft, whose employees almost solely donate to Democrats, and that thing is a thing in of itself. But yeah, I guess if you want to make the argument that way, fine, make that argument. I'd be happy to hear that. If I think that we need to compete with China on a global standard, trying to win allies to our side. I think that's a worthy cause. But if that is the reason, you need to make that argument. None of this, well, the Tulsa auto shop repair dealer should help the Sierra Leone restaurant to get on the digital economy. That doesn't add up in my mind. Don't make that argument. Make the case that we're competing with China and this is just the reality of it. This is a downer today. Sorry about that. All right, I want to get to this very, very quickly. The Washington Post is making massive layoffs. This is, I believe the Washington Post's CEO, who was telling his employees in a big old staff meeting that he's making major layoffs. There's really not much to that story. They've lost about 500,000 subscribers this year. But watch this. It might be somewhat enjoyable. Also, if you haven't already, I would appreciate you clicking the little like button and the little share button. Really, really appreciate you doing that. Let us know in the comment section what you think. Why is the Washington Post losing so many subscribers? Check this out.
We're not going to turn the town hall into a grievance session.
It's not a grievance session. It's just
ask the question.
Brad, you talked about positions getting eliminated. What are you going to do to protect people's jobs? Are they going to be treated like the magazine staffers were?
We'll have more information as we move forward. Thank you very much.
And how will your position be decided?
I'm trying to get you seem to be disrespecting.
Yeah, that's basically that. There's really nothing to that other than the Washington Post laying off a bunch of people. They've not announced how many people they're going to lay off yet, but they said it will be massive layoffs due to their massive loss in subscribership over the last year, and we will, we'll see what happens there. Last thing I want to get to is this. So this is kind of interesting. This guy, I'm not sure who he is. But he's making the case in front of a congressional committee. I wasn't sure if this is in the House or in the Senate, that the federal government should be able to step in prosecuting or stepping in some sort of the prosecutorial process for hate crimes, which is a thing in and of itself. I don't know what a hate crime is. If hypothetically, if I am walking down the street and punch a person in the face, that is a crime. I should not do that. But if I punch him in the face and say, I hate Mexicans, that's for some reason worse. But if I punch a person in the face and say I hate Mexicans, but it's an Asian guy, that's not as bad. I don't understand hate crimes. I don't get it. Nevertheless, this guy's in front of Congress making an argument that the death penalty should be instituted on a federal level to intercede in some of the states who don't allow the death penalty in the case of hate crimes. Watch this whole clip. It's, you know what, we're going to skip ahead a little bit till he makes that particular argument. Watch this, and then we'll discuss on the other side.
The goal to clearing hate crime cases. Support state and local prosecutors in forming specialized hate crime bureaus, including by coordinating information sharing in the challenging area of hate crime prosecution. Increase federal hate crime penalties and encourage the Department of Justice to pursue hate crime charges in states where local laws are insufficient, such as in New York State, where the Buffalo grocery shooter cannot be executed for his heinous offense, a situation, I will add, which also obtains in Colorado. Hate crime against LGBTQ people and otherwise is a serious issue, and we must take it seriously. Doing that means treating hate criminals like the criminals they are and bringing the full power of the justice system to bear on them.
Okay, so that guy, again, is making the case of, well, the shooter in Buffalo is not going to get the death penalty, which we can have that conversation. Maybe I'll do a deep dive into the death penalty one of these days. I feel like, we'll see. But this guy basically saying the federal government should step in terms of figuring out hate crimes because, I don't know, he thinks that hate crimes are not being punished severely enough, which I contend, what is a hate crime? I don't quite understand that. Anyways, that's that. That's going to do it for us today. I feel like I lost some steam here going off of going in on Chris Hayes of MSNBC. Some of you commented and said MSDNC. Huh. Very, very funny. Troy says, exactly, a crime is a crime. Thanks, Troy. Appreciate that. It's kind of what I think, too. But yeah, that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in as we kind of slow to the end. We're not finishing strong here on this show. Clearly, we're finishing slowly here at the Daily Caller Live. And it's on me. The end of the year gets pretty interesting. I believe we will be doing a show tomorrow. We will not be doing a show Monday or Tuesday of next week, as I will be at America Fest in Phoenix. By the way, if you're not going to America Fest, you should be going. Also, if you would like to go to America Fest, message me. I can give you a pretty sweet discount code to go. I believe it's AZ Local. If you want to go to Phoenix and listen to, everybody's going to be there. Tucker, Don Jr., Candace, Tim Pool, just names off the top of my head. Charlie Kirk. All of these people are going to be at America Fest. So yeah, you should go. Message me if you would like some discounts and are in the Phoenix area. 10 of 10 would recommend. Anyways, that being said, yeah, I won't be doing a show on Monday or Tuesday. If you haven't already, would appreciate you giving me a follow on any of your social media accounts. Just type in JOBOB, pretty much anywhere you'll be able to find me. I'm working on getting the @Jobob on Twitter, but we will see if that is a thing. And I'll actually get that. I'll do it for us today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. God bless America.